We welcome to the stage Ali, whose talk is Be the Change to Build.
I start my talk with the statement, be the change to build. Change is something that is difficult, something that is necessary, something that becomes a requirement of time to adapt ourselves to the current situation that prevails. There is a situation being created and that needs to be addressed. The situation is climate change. These are the statements, strong statements recently by the UN Secretary General and a natural historian, which tells us that how grave and how important it is to address the climate change, which may have consequences that may be grave. Climate change, of course, is man-made. It is a disaster of global scale. If we do not change our course by 2020, the risk of humanity and the natural ecological system will be disastrous, and it may affect our ecological system. We can see in the image further like what is the wrong we are doing with the earth and with the environment we are doing. It's like it's a portrait of a picture which tells us like where we are going wrong. The further to more address it, it's the human sectors that address to the climate change and that adds to the pollution we are creating in the environment. The graph in the center shows the level of carbon dioxide that has been at an alarming rate high after 1950. That is mostly due to human activities after post-industrialization. So, the motive here is to change for climate. We need to change and it's high time. The reason it is like we just have 12 years according to scientists by UN reports to change a course that addresses climate change. CO2 is the major reason which is considered for climate change that traps the gases and makes the earth warmer and creates natural disasters problems. But CO2 is part of ecological system. It is not a problem if we see it, if we understand it. The problem is the amount of CO2 that is being produced, and that is mainly due to the activities. The activities, the way we produce energy, the way we live in our houses, the way we travel, the way we use products that we manufacture, and the way we eat food or waste food. So human activities are different sectors contribute to CO2 and everything affected by climate change. But things change and we adapt ourselves to situations. So I have a solution. Let's be the change. Let's be the change to live a sustainable lifestyle, to help reduce climate change and get an economically sustainable place to live. This is another problem that has been rising in the context of Britain, where the affordable housing crisis has been increasing, especially for the young millennials. So the idea here, it depends on two aspects. One is the digital and one is the build. The build aspect focuses on the crisis, that is for the younger generation from the age of 25 to 35. That is the ownership of housing has dropped from 65% to 27% after 1995 up to 2016. And one of the major reasons is 152% rise in the housing prices and decrease in the wages average, that is 22%. So at the end of the day, the young people who just enter the market and try to progress in the system, they end up paying 30% of whatever they earn, and it's a burden, and at the end of the day, they just become broke a person. So CNB living is the idea that has build aspect and digital aspect. The digital aspect helps to live and reach to the larger audience, since we live in a digital world that can that can change and bring a revolutionary change and help people live a sustainable lifestyle. So I've created a system that is like CNB Living, that is based on CNB app and living. These are two different sectors, indeed two different problems that need to be addressed to CNB. So CNB app tends to build on basic principles, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. Reduce, reuse and recycle the amount of energy we produce, the household products we use, the furniture we use, the way we live a lifestyle, that we live in a product-oriented consumer-based society where we use it and at the end of the day it gets wasted, and a lot of energy which has been produced in making that product gets wasted too. The other part is the CNB Living. CNB Living has four major aspects that tends to cater it. First is consumer-oriented affordable living that helps to create a sustainable community development and provide economically designed solutions, that is based on sharing community development. So let's see how the app works. The app is simple way. It's a platform which collects together different stakeholders, sustainable stakeholders who are already doing great work in bringing and addressing the climate change. For example, Sustainability Aware is an app that helps to change our living lifestyle and help and give us make us aware how to live a lifestyle in a sustainable way. There's an app called Bicycle Me that helps you provide and look for the routes around the city for where you can bicycle. Sustainable Development Goals gives you an app that updates you and gives you goals to live a sustainable lifestyle. Oracle is an app that helps you understand what is the carbon footprint do you produce in a day or in your lifestyle. How good tells you about the product which has been from the way it has been produced to the way it has been manufactured. How sustainable is that product? Live Food and Hate Waste is a way that helps you out to stop avoiding wastage of food. So these are the partners of CNB app. That the simple way is to subscribe to the community and become a part of CNB community. Then start using these apps, sustainable apps, and collect points. Once you acquire required amount of points by using this app, you get rewarded. You get a digital key that gives access to affordable living that in which you just pay rent for 1.5 years, and after that you just pay for your services. If you don't want to go for affordable living, you're fine and you want to contribute to a climate change and want to live a lifestyle that is sustainable, you get points that can be have used as discount in various products. After understanding the app, the next step was contextualizing the idea, the build part. It needs a context where it needs to be tested. And Oxford is the context which I chose since it's a city which always innovates, a city full of young people, younger population, one of the cities in UK with large amount of younger population. So the idea here is to reuse the parking lots in Oxford, a place that is wasted just by cars and not being used. So I'm proposing to reuse the parking lots in Oxford as a living space, create a prototype that can be built in different parking lot space in Oxford. This helps to reduce the distance from the person where he is living. So if a person is living near working in Westgate, so he'll be living in the site where I'm testing my idea, where it's at Oxford parking lot. The person is living towards Cardiff, there's another parking lot. The same prototype would be repeated there, so the distance may be reduced for him to travel and the energy would be reduced for him to reach that place where he wants to reach in his daily lifestyle. Then I started with coming up with this. There was long process of design which we've been doing through 8 to 10 weeks. So I started with converting my idea of CNB app into drawings through lines. How each lines can have and can explain a meaning and how they transform my idea into a drawing. So the idea is to reduce, reuse, and recycle, the basic principle, and it is an idea that aims to change that can be brought by adapting ourselves into and ending up into fragments of spaces that builds up a space that is affordable, building a community that is sustainable, living a lifestyle that is sustainable, and living in a place that is affordable. Then I started simplifying the further image and how I realized my app into a drawing image. Then further I started testing it into spaces, how the fragments would be created and how these fragments would be modular spaces of living that would evolve from the conceptual drawing which I created. Then I started testing it on the site which I used and understanding the modular structure, the structure which becomes a flexible structure where prototypes would be created that would be cheap, that would be 3D printed and prefabricated and adjusted on site. And I started understanding it into different levels, like what kind of typology of space is needed for different kind of people. If there is a bachelor, he needs a smaller space. If there's a couple, he needs a little bit bigger space. If there's a family with a child, he needs more bigger space. So I started looking it into levels, how it would look like. Then I tried to pull myself out of the structural grid which was created, and like exploring the space. And since the idea of space is having a different kind of space, that is the private, public, and shared spaces. So that further is explored on the site, like how CNB Living aims to create spaces. It has three spaces, that is public, shared, and private. The public spaces would have three major aspects, that is promoting cycling, where bicycle workshop and bicycle shop becomes, it's been a space which has not been celebrated. It's been a space that has been ignored. So we need people to use cycling as a way of mode of transport, and Oxford is a great example that can take a revolutionary step in that. There's a sustainable cafe that promotes and bring together people, gives a social platform for people to get more about sustainability. And there's a vintage shop that reuses the products which has been discarded, and so there's a lot of sources of energy that is not wasted is been repaired in the workshop and be sold in the vintage shop. The space overall at the ground needs to be connected to a green environment, an environment that is green, as sustainable. Then the upper spaces, the living spaces, which consist of the shared and the private space. Shared spaces would be one space. They're different spaces, but it would be a space that would combine or unite all these different kind of spaces. And the private safe space has 3 or 4 major aspects. That is what I understood or evolved through the analyzing the daily rituals of space where I live. You need a workspace, a space where you can just work for your things you need to do. You need a bed space, you need space for storage, and you need a shower or toilet. So that becomes your private space. And these spaces, what I believe needs to be connected with each other with open connections that are surprising, that creates a connectivity with the space and creates a feeling of belonging to the space, instead of creating walls and bounding it into box. Creating ramp circulation that provides an idea of making cycle as part of your housing, instead of having a separate space for parking your bikes. So I end with my talk with the aspiration of CNB Living, how I imagine my space to look like in next semester, and how do I develop it, like what kind of space CNB Living would be imagined to be or inspired to be. I would like to end my talk by saying that architecture has the power to give back to the community. It is just not about designing a space. It is about designing system that is politically and socially engaging and gives back to the society.